What's happening, guys? Kenny here again, and today I've got a hype versus reality video for you, and that's gonna be about this guy. That's right, folks. This is the Benchmade Anthem. Sorry for the marks on the blade here that I have been putting this thing to use. So for those of you guys that don't know, this is Benchmade's kind of like one of their higher end production, like blue class knives. This isn't technically into their gold class. When you start getting into like more of their, I guess, like exclusive custom kind of knives, not customs, but just higher end production. Then you get into their gold class. This is definitely still in their blue class, but really on the higher level of price for sure. And the reason being is the integral. This is an integral titanium knife. This does have one piece of titanium that it is all milled out of. So you can see it's really simple as far as, you're really not going to be disassembling this knife. It would just be taking the pivot apart, taking the blade out and cleaning up the washers and stuff. And that would be very easy. Just have to slide it back in. It's kind of tricky getting it all back in there. It does have the axis lock, as you can see, and that is done differently. It does not have omega springs with a liner. It's actually just a coil spring that goes back to a steel plate that's screwed in from the back side here. So that's a nice touch, and it's really going to be even more durable than the omega springs. So that's nice, and it also gives it a nice action as far as going in and out. Just going into some of what I found before I even get into the review, but it's just part of that titanium integral. These are in the price range of about $430. They are available on like Knife Center and Blade HQ right now. These are not available at River's Edge Cutlery, the shop that I'm kind of in partnership with now. They're not available, but they are available at some other reputable retailers. So yeah, in saying that, I'll go right into the hype versus reality, and we'll go ahead and put the specs on the page right now. Get that out of the way. Don't want to waste your guys' time spewing off a bunch of numbers. And then we're going to go right into some size comparisons. And in doing that, we'll go ahead and bring in some Benchmades, other Benchmades. And here's the 940, relatively similar size knife, a little bit longer blade on the Anthem, a little bit longer handle and grip area, especially without this point here, just goes straight off the end. And then also we'll bring in the Super Freak, very similar size knife, grip area and all. So just a broader this way and a little thicker handle as well. So we'll get those out of the way. I do have my Monkey Man aftermarket thumb stud on this guy. I'll have a review of those coming soon. But yeah, those are nice. Those guys are on Instagram. Really nice guy. And then we'll go ahead and bring in some Spydercos. Go ahead and bring in the Mannix lightweight. And pair 3. This is the Smooth G10 crew wear version. And this is the Maximate lightweight version. So yeah, you guys can see those are, this is a relatively similar size knife. Obviously a smaller knife in the pair 3. And then we'll bring in one more just for good measure. That's the Marksman, Buck Marksman. Very similar size knife as well. So that gives you a really good perspective of how the size of this knife is going to fit in your hand and in your pocket. So moving right along, I'm going to go ahead and go into the hype and the reasons I wanted to get this knife in hand. And first off, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Elliot over at Sharp Thinkings is his channel, the name of his channel. And Elliot, I really appreciate you letting me get this guy in hand. Elliot's got a really good channel, and he's a very intuitive guy, and just a really nice guy. And for him to let me get this guy in hand and put it to use, not only just get it in hand, but put it to good use, was really stellar of him, and that's just above and beyond from Elliot. So I want to really give him a shout out and thank you for letting me get this guy. And then, yeah, I'll go right into the hype. So the hype of this knife, and the reason I really wanted to get it in hand, obviously with it being an upper end Benchmade, this is like kind of like the top class of what their production blue class would be. And I really wanted to see what that was all about. I had heard it's an excellent, example of the access lock, so I really wanted to try that. Also 20 CV steel, which is a good steel. It was a good size as far as EDC and carry. It also had that titanium frame lock, titanium integral, which I had never tried an integral titanium knife, and I hadn't tried an integral at all for that matter. So I was really just curious about trying that out, and it just, obviously all the things together on this really just made it something that was out of my range, and I didn't really ever think I was going to get one in hand unless I was at a shop that happened to have one, which was highly unlikely where I live. So it really was just kind of a grail in a sense, where I just never thought I'd own one or get one in hand. So again, thank you so much to Elliot for making that possible. And I think that's really the end of the hype. I think that's really where I'm just going to segue right into the reality. When this thing came out of box, you guys did witness the unboxing of this, I think, or maybe, no, just the first impressions. But when I did get this guy out of box, first things first, I looked at the handle scales, which, as you guys can see, when you're talking about the finish of this titanium, it's beautiful. It's really hard to have it come through in the camera. I know a lot of people give this thing slack for the color of the scales, but it's definitely not like a bold color. But with the chevron pattern and the way that, look at the way the light bounces off the machining, and it really is awesome looking in person, guys. It really is next level in person. And when I got it out, I was like, oh yeah. Much more stylish and just beautiful than it comes through on the camera and in videos I've watched on this knife. So really just beautiful finish on the knife. And then the fit, of course, it's an integral, guys. There's really not much fit that goes into it except for this dimension here. And as far as the way this is fit, it's really nice, perfect centering, perfect action as far as like the way that dimension is parallel all the way across, and it didn't like spring in when they milled it or anything like that. It really came out nice as far as fit goes. Like I said, there's not much fit involved in a titanium integral, because it's not like you have two scales coming together on a backspacer or something like that. It's one piece of metal, guys, cut out. So it's really just about, when they mill this, taking it slow and cooling process and all that to make sure that it doesn't spring or anything like that. But really nicely done as far as fit and finish. Really beautiful finish. I know a lot of guys are going to give this clip a lot of slack. I know it's got a shape that everyone wants to, make fun of, but honestly, guys, it's a very functional clip. I did find this going in and out of pocket really nicely. Only thing I will say is the chevron pattern gives it a little bit of a rough. As you're going in and out, it feels like you can feel that pattern. I don't think it necessarily tears up your pocket, but you do feel it going in and out. You feel that the tactile feel of the chevrons as you're going in and out. But it did go in and out really well, and the retention's really good. It's got a perfect retention on this example. It's not mine, guys. It is Elliot's. But yeah, so it's a perfect example as far as the retention going in and out. I know the shape. Honestly, guys, I can make a lot of things look like a penis. Come on, guys. a lot of knives look like a penis. You can say that that looks like a penis. I mean, we can all come up with ideas of what looks like a penis. I mean, we want to talk about pickles or something. I mean, there's a lot of things that look like a penis. But anyways, it's a very functional clip, and it works very well going in and out. As far as the action, guys, when I first got this out of the box, man, blew me away. I mean, just the way that flipped out was awesome. And then when I went to go ahead and disengage, the smoothness of this access lock, guys, it's beyond anything I've ever used, anything I've ever felt as far as access locks go. One of the smoothest knives I've ever handled, to be honest, guys. Now, in saying that, there's definitely a difference. As you can see, I can spidey flick it. I can flick it out with my thumb. I can slow roll it. It's very easy to deploy. The detent, there's really not a detent on access locks. The detent is just the pressure of the spring going into that little cup on the blade tang. And I can gravity flick this out very easily, which most Benchmade access locks you can do. And this blade is a little bigger and heavier, so definitely easy to do. But yeah, deployment's really nice, and this action is just so smooth. The one thing I'll say is there is a little bearing roll as far as tactile feel. You can feel the bearings rolling against the titanium. I do believe these are stainless steel bearings. I don't have my flashlight handy right here, but I did look at them before. They do look like stainless steel bearings, or at least a stainless steel racer that the bearings are in. But you can feel them rolling against the titanium, but it's so smooth. You can feel them, but it's no big deal, guys. It's smooth, and you can feel it, but so damn smooth. So that's really nice. And just amazing action. You don't have to flick your wrist or anything as far as closing. It's so sweet. You guys can see that. Now, timing is a thing with the action. If you leave it, it's obviously doesn't want to close until you release that bar, as you can see there. See how it pulls the blade in? So there is a little bit of timing involved as far as letting it go in the right amount of time, so that it closes perfectly. But you can use the access lock, you can use your thumb, you can use your middle finger. Really nice deployment in action, and super fun to fidget with. Amazing as a fidget knife, guys. Be an expensive fidget toy, but very nice. And then on top of that, guys, you want to talk about the function of the knife. I'm going to go ahead and go into the function of the knife. I'm going to talk about the ergonomics, because I think that's the next segue into that. And I'm going to say, as far as ergonomics go, first time I put this thing in hand, guys, I was pretty impressed as far as the feel in hand. The way I would describe it, it's a lot like a 940, except obviously a little more contoured. You have these chamfers here, and that's really nice and fits good in hand. It's a similar size handle, like I said before. It does go off the end, so as far as fitting a large size hand, it's got plenty of real estate. I do have medium to large size hands. I have a medium size as far as the length of my palm, as you guys well know if you watch my videos. Kind of short fingers, short palm, medium size in that way, but really wide and broad hands, so I'm more large in the width of my hands and thickness of my fingers. So if you guys have large size hands, even extra large size hands, you'll probably fit just fine and get a full 5-finger or 4-finger grip. 5-finger, yeah. You get your thumb in there too, you know. But anyways, in that dimension, as far as length, it's very nice. The one thing I will say that could be an issue with ergonomics for some people is this dimension right here. Now, if you look at a 940, you got a similar dimension right there, but it's even a little broader. If I put this right on top, you can see it's just a little bit broader right there, but also in this dimension. So this is a little thinner than the 940, and it's also a little narrower right here. So what I did find in the hammer grip is it feels a little thin right there. Feels a little thin. But other than that, I mean, it's really nice, guys. Really beautiful in hand. You can feel this channel a little bit, which is pretty much with all folders. It could be, I mean, it could be chamfered a little bit more, but it's not sharp. I wouldn't say it's sharp. It's just not rounded that well. It is nice, though. Really nice in hand, especially in the saber grip. Really, in any grip, it feels pretty good. But except for the hammer grip is a little narrow right there for me. I did notice in regular use it didn't really bother me that much, but it was just something that I noticed right away. It was a little thin right here. But if you have broader, or I should say if you have longer hands than me, this could become an issue where your palm is just too big for that little section of the knife. So that's something, you know, you might want to get it in hand first. Oh, and guys, I did forget to say this in the action, but this thing, with being so free dropping and everything, has insane lockup. I mean, not an ounce of movement in any direction, guys. So that is really nice as far as the action and, you know, fit go on this thing. Sorry, I bounced around there. But yeah, this is an excellent ergonomic knife, and it does fill the hand very well for how thin it is. It's not as thin. I mean, the 940 is like the same kind of handle, but I feel it fills my hand a little better because of the thickness, and this section up here is a little broader. It fills my hand a little better for like long-term use, but not something that I would like. I wouldn't kick this guy out of bed because of that. It works just fine, and in long use, I didn't notice anything that would become a hot spot or anything. It was just a little bit of comfort as far as long-term. But yeah, so moving on from there, it is a little broader as well in this dimension. So it's not quite as narrow in the pocket, but still very nice, guys. That's still extremely narrow in the pocket against the 940. That is nice, man. That is really thin. Because if you guys know with the 940, this thing disappears. This thing is like really close to just completely disappearing in your pocket. And it's a little broader down here, but that's an area that you don't really notice as much as up here. So getting in and out is so nice. So nice. Really well done. And like I said, the clip is well done. So getting in and out in that way. Nice ramp in the front, nice ramp in the back. It really goes in and out very well. So moving along, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the blade. This is 20 CV, guys, and 20 CV, for those of you guys that don't know, it's a CPM. Actually, it's a CPM Crucible. Crucible Metallurgy is who I think originally came out with the actual science to it, but Latrobe is the one who makes it. So I'm not sure how that works, but Latrobe is still a U.S. company, so it's still made in the United States. As far as the blade grind, it is a flat going up to a saber grind, kind of like I guess you would want to call that a drop point. But yeah, so it's like a drop point, kind of clip point, a little. I don't know what you would call it. I have to look. But yeah, this is a really nice blade shape. And the flat grind does actually come down to a relatively thin behind the edge dimension. Let's go ahead and bring that out. It is 0.11 blade stock. All right, so back here is 23. It's not amazing, but for a Benchmade, that's decent. All right, so right here, it gets a lot thinner. Yeah, like 17. All right, that's what I'm talking about. And honestly, guys, I did feel that in use. This is like about a 17 or 18 DPS. So 19 there. So it's about a 35 inclusive angle. So it does thicken up a little bit. There's 23 right there by the tip. So, yeah. Really nice grind, guys, and I did notice 25 right at the very tip. I did notice in use how well this thing sliced. I'm going to go ahead and put that on the screen. I will talk about M390, or I'm sorry, 20CV a little bit more. But I'm going to go ahead and put some of my use of the knife on the screen. And I did notice that this blade sliced very well. The blade shape, it kind of surprised me actually. It sliced better than I thought it was going to in getting it. I thought it was going to be a little thicker behind the edge. It did slice amazingly though. And cutting through like double, triple thick cardboard, it really just blew my mind. And once I put my own edge on it, not that Elliot's was bad, but I know he put some use on it, then I put some use on it. When I put the fresh edge on it, man, it just flew through cardboard and was just awesome. Very well done. His edge was nice, by the way. Elliot, very nice job on your edge on this. So as far as 20CV goes, guys, if you don't know much about that steel, it is a very high carbide, not carbide steel. It does have a whole lot of carbon and chromium in it, so it does make a lot of carbides. Has about 4% vanadium. So like it's a great working steel, guys. Now the thing is it all depends on that HRC. You know, it all depends on the heat treat in the end. Not just the HRC, but the heat treat, the tempering process, all those processes. I did find that this 20CV seems to be done well. It does not seem to be at a very high hardness. In sharpening, it felt really easy to sharpen. And in edge holding, it did hold an edge well, and it took a very sticky edge, but I do feel like it should have held an edge longer. I feel like it lost that stickiness fairly quickly, and then it did lose that like hair shaving sharp fairly quickly as well. So I'd love to see what this thing is, what it would test at as far as the RC, but I'm not, obviously this is Elliot's knife. It would be up to him as far as sending it to Kurt to have it heat treat tested. But I do think that they did a good job as far as the tempering process and stuff, but I just don't think it's at a very high HRC. Now, I could be wrong, but in my use and in my sharpening and all that, that's how I felt of how it was performing against the stones and stuff, and then against the cardboard. So I'll bring you guys back and I'll show you, I did put a fresh edge on this and put it to some serious use. It does feel still really sharp, and I'm sure it's still gonna shave hair. But as you guys can see, it's kind of scrape shaving. Yeah, it's not like cleanly shaving me. So that's where you guys can see. It's just not as sharp as I feel like it could be after the use I put it through. Jesus, man. But yeah, it was really, really nicely done as far as the blade goes. 20CV, like I said, the capabilities of 20CV and that the possibilities are way beyond what I feel like most of these production companies are doing with their 20CV, not really pushing the steel. So that's definitely something that we've been finding in a lot of this HRC testing we're having done by Kurt. So that's a whole other issue that we can talk about another day. But yeah, other than that, I really did like how this knife was done. I'm really impressed by the way it slices and the ergonomics and the action. Really nicely done. Sorry, I got all this hair back here. And I was really impressed by that. And the carry is really nice. I'll go ahead and bring in the scale. Go ahead and zero out. 3.72. I think the site says like 3.66, so it's just above what they say, but that's pretty close. And in carry, it really does carry well. And at 3.72 for a 3.5-inch blade, you can't ask for much more than that. That's really nice. And I really did feel like it performed excellently as far as the blade grind and ergonomics. So I think for that weight, the way it carries, the way it goes in and out of pocket, just excellent, guys. Really, really nicely done. As far as the price, at $430 for a titanium integral and 20 CV, I think that's okay. I do think it's a little high, to be honest. There is a lot of milling involved in this knife, so I can understand why the price is where it is. And And obviously, this is bearings, and I think it might be the only bearing Benchmade, possibly. I don't know if there's any others. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure you will. But I mean, most Benchmades are a phosphor bronze washer, as you guys can see there. Most of them are phosphor bronze washers, which I don't really mind, to be honest. I like the fact that they're phosphor bronze washers, and you can, they're just workhorses. So I kind of like that. But in saying that, guys, I know people give bearings kind of like a bad rap. Like it's good. For most EDC guys, bearings are just fine. And this guy is just so damn smooth that it makes it worth it in this knife. Again, $430 might be a little steep, but does it make me not want this knife? No. Now, in saying that, is this a knife where I'm going to send this off to Elliot and 2 days later I'm going to be ordering one, kind of like the CRK was with Steve? Probably not, to be straight up with you guys. I do love it, but I think there's other things out there in this price range that I would probably go for before I did this. Now, if my wife bought this thing for me, like Elliot's girlfriend bought this, ex-girlfriend bought this for him, sorry, buddy, would I kick it out of bed? Hell no. Would I be stoked? Hell yes. But would I go out and buy this knife? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I drop the $430. Especially after having my CRK. This is definitely a completely different knife than the Inkosi. But I do feel like you feel when you handle a CRK, you really feel the value of the knife. I felt the value of this knife, but I think at like $300, like I would feel super comfortable. Like $325, even $350, I'd feel like this knife would be every bit worth it. At $430, it kind of gets a bit out of the range. I feel like it fits in. My personal opinion, guys, I know that some people would find it well worth that price, but for me personally, I don't really necessarily see it. And my few knocks on the knife would be that thin spot right here. But other than that, I really don't have many knocks except for maybe the 20 CV. I'd love for them to take it up into that 62 range, especially on a knife this expensive. I feel like it's warranted. Like, dude, you're spending that much more for this knife. You guys should go the extra mile, and that should be like 62, like maybe 62 to 63. Like, let's see that, Benchmade. Come on. Somebody push it. Anyways, really appreciate you guys watching the videos, your likes, your subs, your comments. I appreciate all of you guys, and thanks for watching, and thanks for everything. And I hope you guys have a great day. I got a few more of these hype versus reality coming this week probably, because I got a lot of knives that are on the chopping block. Have a great day, guys.